If you want to be a successful enchanter, you must be able to generate dynamic magnetic impulses at will, and project easily emotional force with tremendous intensity. In order to obtain your desires, you must discipline your subconscious, leash the powerful forces of your emotions, and when you do, you'll free your spirit. Before you will ever be able to influence your environment, you must take command of yourself. Only then will you be able to exert a never-ending control over others. The bridge to your inner core is the self-fascination ritual. This ritual is a traditional part of witchcraft and must be performed regularly, Tuesdays and Fridays for 3 months, once each year. It never fails. To begin, bathe in warm water fragrant with passion flowers. Softly dry your body with a linen cloth that has been heavily scented with sandalwood perfume. In front of a mirror in a semi-darkened room, stand naked inside a circle of ground-dry seahorse. Light a coral candle. Now, raise your arms high over your head and slowly and rhythmically sway from side to side. Repeat your name 99 times while continuing to sway. Stop swaying and quickly clench your fists. Stiffen all your muscles and chant 3 times. I control. I am the power. I control. I am the power. I control. I am the power. Blow out the candle.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Pretty good. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is from Humanoid Encounters by G.D. Pickering. Okay, this story.
Okay.
All right. This one takes place in Neosho, Missouri in the early 2000s, and it's Jed's encounter. I used to deliver pizzas and got off late in the evening. Same route home every night. A quarter mile before my driveway was a sharp left turn with a big evergreen tree on the outside of the corner. One night I was coming to the corner and noticed forward-facing eyes shining from within the base of the big evergreen. As I approached, I was looking intently for what little critter it was I was about to, because I am a nature lover. The closer I get, I am having a very hard time seeing what it was. And in hindsight, it's because my brain wasn't processing what I was seeing very well initially. As I got right up to the turn, I saw it in full. My best description is a goat boy. A pan-like creature, human head, very small with reflective eyes. A small torso that was pale in complexion, and brown hairy legs with little tiny hooves. It's crazy. I almost came to a complete stop looking at it. It didn't know I was looking at it until I took the turn. My headlights were now off it directly, and it was looking at me with the ambient light in the car through the passenger window. At that point, we had made eye contact, and I became terrified, and I floored it. I had a vision of my family and friends finding me in the woods dead. I ran into my house freaking out and told my wife and 2 friends there at the time. Of course, it was laughed off, and I'm just tripping. My neighbor and friend at the time then heard about my story and were like, "Man, have you ever heard the screams that come out from the woods behind the townhouses?" I actually had not, but he was adamant that he had heard something back there multiple times that was not a North American animal.
Hey, I think you hit something because it abruptly ended. Do you think it?
God, I wonder where
Who
it ended.
knows?
Where did I end? Was I almost done the story, do you think?
Yeah, I thought.
I kept reading.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were done.
Or maybe I was. I don't know. I got to cut this out anyway. All right, so let's go into, I guess you can go next.
Okay. Here's one from Albert Rosales, one of his many books, the Humanoid Encounters books.
Mm-hmm.
This one's from the 1975 to 1979 volume. Okay. Location near Buffalo, Dakota. Date August 26, 1975 at 4 a.m. Sandra Larson, 32, and her daughter Jackie, 15, were being driven from Fargo to Bismarck by Jackie's boyfriend when they heard a loud rumbling noise like thunder and saw 8 glowing orange balls descend from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
The object's descent stopped, and half of the object shot back upwards. Sandy had a peculiar feeling as if the car was motionless, and at the same time, Jackie suddenly found herself in the rear seat.
Mm-hmm.
When they got to a gas station, they discovered that an hour had somehow elapsed. Later, under hypnosis, Sandra recalled having been floated from the car into the UFO, where a 6-foot being with a mummy-like head bandaged up in tape,
oh wow,
the eyes remaining visible, had done some sort of surgical operation on her, even briefly removing her brain. This being had a luminosity around its head and shoulders and long metallic arms. Its skin was like brown vinyl. Source Jerome Clark and Dr. Leo Sprinkle.
Wow, I'm trying to visualize that.
It's
brown vinyl.
Yeah, and it's the one time I've heard of a entity that looked like a mummy, but
right.
Well, the Pascagoula ones looked mummy-like, but they didn't. They weren't bandaged up in tape. I don't think,
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, my next one is from that same book, and this is Brian's Encounter.
Cool.
Okay. Sorry, it was okay. Back in the late 70s up to the mid 80s, a creature or something of the sort was seen on our reservation. How it started was a Saturday at a bar in town. A live band was playing and people. As the town is a small place, everyone knew each other except for this one guy. As the report stated, people were dancing. This man dressed in black with a duster jacket was dancing with a young woman. The man was described as being handsome and tall. Needless to say, at some point during a dance, a woman screamed out. This caused the band to stop playing and people stopped dancing. The woman, who shall remain unnamed, screamed, "Look at his feet. He has hoofs for feet."
Wow.
And at that point, this man who was dressed in the black duster jacket ran out the door of the tavern. People chased him out the door and attempted to chase him down the street. However, this guy was fast, extremely fast, and outran the people very easily. The bar owner called the tribal police department and reported the incident. The officer that was on duty attempted to locate the subject. The officer was unable to find the so-called individual. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
And that,
I wonder if they could hear like his hooves when he was running.
right.
You know?
And that one is like a popular story. You know how all these things have like the popular folklore about it. The guy at the dance is like a popular version
Well,
of
yeah,
that.
and there's the Native American legend of the deer woman
Mm-hmm.
who would seduce men, and but she's really a deer.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Mayan have a woman, a creature, woman, whatever, called Ishtabai. And
Yeah.
she's described as a beautiful woman with long black hair who wears a flowing white frock. She looks like a human until you notice her feet. She floats slightly off the ground, and one foot is that of a bird, and the other is a hoof. And it says that she mostly appears to men.
Yeah.
And tries to lead them into the forest to seduce them and
To kill them.
murder them. Seduce and murder them. That's right.
Yeah. I figured that was the end goal. Yeah, there was a great series on TV back in the early 2000s. It was called Masters of Horror.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an anthology series, kind of like Tales from the Crypt or
Right.
Monsters or Tales from the Dark Side. Fucking awesome series. I love it. And
there's a deer woman.
Yeah, it's called The Deer Woman. The episode's called The Deer Woman, and it's probably, as good as that series is, that's probably the best episode in the series.
Yeah,
it goes deep into the legend, and the woman is fucking beautiful.
Right, they found like the perfect.
Yeah, Native American woman, and yeah, every guy is just like drooling over her.
I might dance with the deer woman. I'll give it a try.
You gotta watch it. You gotta see it. It's good. Yeah. Do you remember the show Dream On HBO?
No.
There was this great show. It was on from late 80s, early 90s. It might have ended in the early 90s. And this guy is he's like a divorced father and just a regular guy. And because he watched so much TV when he was a kid, all his memories and thoughts are clips of old reruns. So that's how the show runs. Something will happen and he'll have a thought, but it'll actually be a rerun from like a 50s TV show.
Right.
It's genius. It was so good. I grew up watching it. It was great. Anyway, the actor from that is the main actor in
The Deer Woman.
Yeah.
Nice.
Brian Benben.
Nice.
All right, I've got a small article. It's kind of a it's a departure. It's not paranormal or anything, but I figured people would like it.
Stuck for you right now, right?
What?
It's stuck out to you right now, right?
Yeah. And it's, of course, Robert Anton Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
This is called Becoming What We Are.
Mm-hmm.
If you stroll through a large art museum, you will notice that Van Gogh does not paint the same world as Rembrandt. Picasso does not see things the way Goya did. Georgia O'Keeffe doesn't much resemble Rivera. Salvador Dali looks like nobody but himself. And in general, no world-class artist became a, quote, classic by doing what somebody else had already done, or even what everybody else in his or her own era did.
Mm-hmm.
And in science, the names of Einstein, Dirac, the Curies, Bohr, Heisenberg, Schrodinger, John Bell, etc., live on because none of them took Newton as holy gospel. They all made unique and unpredictable innovations in basic theory. And in case you think this applies only to the arts and sciences, consider the most successful people in industry. Henry Ford did not get rich copying Fulton's Steamboat. He made a car so cheap that anybody could afford one. Howard Hughes produced movies that nobody else would have dared to attempt, and then went on to revolutionize the airline industry. Buckminster Fuller did not copy the cubicle form of previous architects, but invented the geodesic dome. At last count, over 300,000 of his buildings exist, making him the most visibly successful architect in history. Steve Wozniak did not copy the computers of his day, but invented one that even a bloody Egypt like me could use and even enjoy. Bill Gates created new kinds of software, etc. We all need constant reiteration of these truisms because we live in a world where a multitude of very powerful forces have worked upon us from birth through school to jobs, attempting to suppress our individuality, our creativity, and above all, our curiosity. In short, to destroy everything that encourages us to think for ourselves. Our parents wanted us to act like the other darling childrens in our neighborhood. They emphatically did not want a boy or a girl who seemed weird or different, or heaven forbid, too damn clever. Then we enter grade school, a fate worse than death and hell combined. Whether we land in a public school or a private religious school, we learn two basic lessons. There exists one correct answer for every question, and two, education consists of memorizing the one correct answer and regurgitating it on an examination. The same tactics continue through high school and except in a few sciences, even to the university. All through this, quote, education, we find ourselves bombarded by organized religion. Most religions in this part of the world also teach us one correct answer, which we should accept with blind faith. Worse, they attempt to terrorize us with threats of post-mortem roasting, toasting, boiling, broiling, charbroiling, and freedom frying, if we ever dare to think at all. After 18 to 30 years of all this, we enter the job market and learn to become, or try to become, almost deaf, dumb, and blind. We must always tell our, quote, superiors what they want to hear, what suits their prejudices and or their wishful fantasies. If we notice something they don't want to know about, we learn to keep our mouth shut. If we don't, one more word, Bumstead, and I'll fire you. As my Mahatma guru, J.R. Bob Dobbs, says, you know how dumb the average guy is? Well, mathematically, by definition, half of them are even dumber than that. Bob may have the average confused with the median, but otherwise he hit a bullseye. Half of the people you meet do indeed seem dumber than a box of turds. But they did not start out that way. Parents, peers, schools, churches, advertisers, and jobs made them that way. Every baby at birth has a relentlessly curious and experimental temperament. It takes the first third of our lives to destroy that curiosity and experimentalism, but in most cases, we become placid parts of a docile herd. This human herd all started out as potential geniuses before the tacit conspiracy of social conformity blighted their brains.
Mm-hmm.
All of them can redeem that lost freedom if they work at it hard enough. I've worked at it for 50 years now and still find parts of me acting like a robot or a zombie on occasion. Learning, quote, how to become what we are, in Nietzsche's phrase, takes a lifetime, but it still seems the best game in town.
Nice. I think we all needed to hear that.
I did.
Wow, yeah. That's awesome. I have to get some of those books because we always come back to that, and it's always good stuff, you know.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. I reread his stuff at least once a year. I reread something.
Right. You always grab it, right?
Yeah.
All right, let me tell you this. This one's from T.M. Gray, New England Graveside Tales is the book.
Cool.
And then in the 1950s, a local man was driving his pickup truck through the woods outside Cherryfield, Maine. He had filled up his gas tank earlier that day, so he was confused when the engine died and the vehicle came to a stop on a deserted road. The man got out of the truck and looked in the gas tank. Although there was no sign of a leak, he was surprised to see it was totally empty. As he puzzled over this, he saw someone approaching him from the woods. At first, he was excited, thinking it was someone who could help him with the truck, but he quickly realized it was no ordinary Mainer walking towards him. Great. The person was male, and like a lot of local Maine men, wore a red flannel shirt. But he was naked from the waist down. His legs were not human, but were covered in thick hair and were shaped like a goat's. 2 horns grew from his forehead, and he had the pointed ears of an animal. The goat man walked into the middle of the road, smiled at the man standing near his stalled truck, and then crossed over the road into the woods on the other side. In a panic, the man got into his truck and locked the door. Desperately, he tried to start the engine. It started, and he drove back into town. When he got there, he checked his gas tank again. It was full. That's a good one, isn't it?
That's great.
I love that one. And he's a flannel man. He's a flannel man.
Have you got Tim Renner's new book? Did you order
The Witch
it?
Cloud?
Yeah.
No, I have not yet.
Okay.
I ordered the new long sleeve t-shirt.
You what?
I pre-ordered the long sleeve t-shirt that he did.
I didn't see it.
But no, I haven't gotten Witch Cloud. Did you get it?
No, I'd love to though. It looks really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah.
That's definitely on my list.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, so you know how, just out of my own weird world that we share, you know how, if you live in the suburbs or whatever, you know how everybody has like nicknames for their neighbors, and it's probably not very nice, but like the cat lady in the corner or this, you come up with these little, names for neighbors and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have any neighbors, so I'm doing it with the animals. I have like these whole storyline for the animals. Like,
so each cow, are you naming each cow?
No. Well, they're the girls. Like there's the doe. There's like these 3 does that come out like crack of dawn in the morning. They'll like stumble out of the woods.
Yeah.
So they're like the the party girls coming in. Actually, they've probably been trying to survive all night, but
Yeah.
in my storyline, they're sneaking back home or whatever. They're sneaking out of
After
the
a
woods.
night out partying. Fuck
Yeah. I'm like,
That's
there's the
great.
girls. And then my favorite, there's a whole bunch of rabbit outside. And I think
Yeah.
I think their homes are in our yard somewhere. There's some holes. But there's a whole bunch of rabbits outside and you see them every day. And but the other morning, right,
Yeah.
there was there was a coyote chasing one of them right down my road, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah, the rabbit was hauling ass. I've
Yeah.
never seen it. Right down the middle of the road. And the coyote like comes jolting out of the woods behind him and he runs down the road and the coyote stops and he kind of looks and he's kind of like, you know, and he didn't chase him. He kind of just paused a minute and just went into the field instead.
Oh wow.
And that poor rabbit, he stopped in the middle of the road at some point when he realized he was good. He must have sat there for like 20 minutes, man. He was just like, I can just imagine like his adrenaline and stuff. He was just sitting there in the middle of the street for like 20 minutes. Like damn. So I imagine he has like street cred now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's a badass.
Like he's out there with the other rabbits now, like, man, fuck that coyote. So that's and that's what I'm doing. Like that's my neighbors.
Nice.
And yes, the cows are back. I thought they were steak.
Yeah.
But turns out the farmer just takes them somewhere better during the winter. I guess somewhere more equipped
I
for
wonder where he
winter.
takes them.
Well, he probably has something better. He owns hundreds of acres. So.
Yeah.
But they're back.
Cool.
They're not steaks.
Cows.
And they're awesome. They're like, they watch you. Like if you go out in the yard and do stuff, they're like, hey, what are they doing? They're like the old ladies looking out their curtains, you know. They're like watching what you're doing. But yeah, that's what I'm and coyotes. He was beautiful. Oh my God. His coat, he was like healthy. Which I guess that's why he decided, I don't feel like chasing the rabbit. What do you got going on in your life? I got animals.
Yeah, there's the deer out big time. I live where I live is like suburbia, but
right.
So it's kind of in town, but there's country around it.
Right.
And I was shocked. There was a deer that on the side of the road yesterday, a big one. And I was, and this is, this is like in a suburban neighborhood. So
right.
It's really surprising. It's the closest I've ever seen them.
To where you're at.
Yeah, they're right here. Like this was like a block away, a couple blocks away, But yeah, it was shocking. But I haven't noticed anything else out.
Yeah. My son has been driving his daughter to visit her mom in Roanoke. So like an hour and 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
And he saw so he'll come back. It's probably dark by the time he's heading, up the mountain. But like one night he saw a bear in like where the dumpsters are, like the grocery store parking lot. It's a bear. And then he saw coyotes a couple of times. There are definitely a lot of coyote around here. Definitely. You hear them. And well, now I saw it, so.
No, they're not that big, are they? Aren't they like the size of a dog?
Yeah, you might first look out your window and say, oh, there's a dog. And then you're like, no, that's not a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen them, but I haven't seen them that much.
Right.
Even the places I've lived, yeah.
And I think it's like the Blue Ridge Parkway's right there, so that's really like rural, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything's out there.
Yeah,
Where you're
yeah.
at.
So
You got it all. If it's in North
bobcats,
Carolina,
I
Virginia, it's
haven't seen
there.
a bobcat, but other people in my house have seen a bobcat, but I
I
didn't
have.
see them.
I saw a couple when I lived on Mount Mitchell. I saw
Uh-huh.
a couple times. I like uh I lived on a dirt road and I'd be walking
And they cross.
on it. Yeah, I'd see them, and they were just like massive cats, you know.
Yeah, they're not super,
Yeah,
super big, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're not, but they
Don't mess with them.
yeah, yeah. I don't think they're that aggressive, but who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, anything else? I don't know.
I got another little
Okay.
one from the same book, Humanoid Encounters, 1975 to 79.
Mm-hmm.
Albert Rosales. Location: Tailem Bend, South Australia. Date:
Mm-hmm.
June 1975 at night. At least 3 independent groups of motorists describe seeing a hairy anthropoid along the side of the road, carrying what appeared to be a lantern in its hand. The figure was large in size and similar to a Bigfoot type of creature seen elsewhere.
Hmm.
One group of motorists said they saw not only the figure but also a light off in a nearby field. Another group said that as they passed the same spot, they observed a huge illuminated domed shape in the field, possibly a UFO. Also, around the same time and in the same area, a truck driver with a load of sheep was passing through when the animals began a commotion in the back of the rig. He pulled over to see what the trouble was. He got out and saw a huge, hairy, anthropoid-like creature sitting on top of the truck,
Oh my God.
trying to get at the sheep. The driver got back in and took off at high speed. The commotion subsided, and when it was checked later, the wire on top of the truck had been torn, and there was one dead sheep.
Oh, shit.
There was the vague appearance of big handprints and grip marks on the heavy wire mesh. No, I thought that one was besides being another Bigfoot plus the
Right.
lights.
Right.
Those are my favorites. But
Carrying a lantern. Yeah, that's the first thing I
yeah,
noticed.
carrying a lantern, that's great. But besides that, the talk of the even if the without the being messing with the sheep, how they started acting up,
Uh-huh.
and I just think of Stan Gordon, the researcher from Pennsylvania. He always talked about that, how that was
The
in
animals will
almost
get.
every case they would go after something happened, especially the high strangeness cases, and the people's pets were all to hell.
Right.
And he's like, people lie and people hoax, but animals freaking out is a totally different thing. Some shit's going down
Right.
when
Right.
the animals freak out.
Right. Definitely.
I remember he said even the most vicious dogs will cower and they'll
Right.
hide under the house, and that's how you know it's for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sense things a little better than us, right? They have to, right?
Right. That's so interesting to me because it's that thing of, well, if it's a hallucination, why is the dog freaking out?
Right.
If it's all in my head,
Right. Away from how much is in our head, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that's a component.
Right. Or how we see it is
somehow.
right.
Yeah. but there's definitely a change going on in the world out there.
Right.
You know, when these things happen.
Right. Good observation. That's true.
Mhm.
That's true.
You got anything else?
No, that's it. We'll
Cool.
wrap it up.
Yeah.
We will wrap it up. We will be back.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.